The ICook Foods story is one that will live forever in the hearts and minds of all Victorians and Australians. It runs deep into the psyche of what happens when state-based corruption actively works to destroy a person or their livelihood. Now, the ICook Foods story is one of the most infamous cases in Australia's history, and it requires no further explanation of what Sluggate is about. However, throughout the course of 2021, Ian Cook has been right at the heels of the Victorian Government, the City of Greater Dandenong and the Victoria Police. Now, Ian Cook is determined to see justice served, and since joining us last year, he's constantly been back here at the Informer to talk about where things are, and today he's with us to talk about, in the case, if there are any new developments. Welcome, Ian.
G'day, Mike. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate. Now, where are we today with the ICook Foods and Sluggate?
Well, as you know, the police, right in the middle of Christmas, the worst media time, they waited until the Djokovic story had got traction and was all over the news, and then they dropped it with reporters that there was going to be no further investigation or any investigation into the criminal activity around what happened to us. So they said that there was nothing to see, basically, and that no crimes had been committed. So and then John Benny, who's the CEO of the City of Greater Dandenong, he came out and on their website and said that it was all just a hateful conspiracy, etc. So just to deal with that, there is absolutely no conspiracy here, as you know. What we're dealing with here are very specific crimes that were committed by, if we take just one, Elizabeth Garlick, the first health inspector that came in. Even if you put the slug to one side, she specifically wrote a statement to the court to have me charged and to get me convicted. We have clear, incontrovertible evidence of her tampering with a body camera. John Benny in the parliamentary inquiry agreed that they did it and tried to make an excuse. There is no excuse for tampering with evidence to try and get a conviction against someone. That's called, in the old days, they called it bricking people or framing people. That's what she did. The police officers involved all agreed with us. They know she did it, but the hierarchy have told them it's not going anywhere. We are going to stop this. But this is just like red shirts, just like hotel quarantine. Victoria Police are doing what their political masters are telling them to do. There's no, as I said, there's no conspiracy about this. I can give it to you in black and white. And remember, this isn't just Ian Cook or his group saying, hey, we reckon this happened or that happened. We can show you in writing what they put into the court. We can show you video evidence that shows that they're wrong. We can show you metadata of how they did what they did. And we can show you in other forums where they thought they were protected, they've told you what they did. They've actually admitted to the crimes. And then one police officer said, oh, well, you can't use anything out of a parliamentary inquiry because of privilege. Well, that's okay. John Benny said exactly the same to VCAT when he was trying to stop us from getting documents. He told them why they edited it. So what you have here is people admitting to crimes, you have evidence showing the crimes, but there is no will for the police force to take these people on. And yet these are some of the most serious crimes in the statutes. When did it become okay in Australia for people to be framed by government bodies to try and get rid of them?
Yep. And
remember, this was just, go on.
Yeah, these crimes come under the heading as crimes against justice. So it goes to the very heart of our whole system.
Exactly. And as soon as you have a situation where you don't have a separation of powers between the police and the parliament, or at least the politicians in power, then you have a big problem because no one's safe then. I mean, This theoretically means that they could do whatever they like to you, to friends of yours, to anyone. And there should be enormous outrage at this. We're certainly not going to let it go. We're just going, we will keep plugging away at it. But it's important that people understand this isn't some dreamt up idea of ICook Foods, its employees, or the people that support us. This is clear, irrefutable evidence. One day, this will all come out. One day, there'll be headlines written about this evidence, and there'll be a lot of very, very embarrassed police or police in a lot of trouble.
You faced jail time as well because you were charged personally with this. So this isn't just about shutting down ICook Foods as a competitor to Community Chef. This was seriously about putting Ian Cook in jail for doing nothing more than running a successful business that made the competition look second rate.
Absolutely. In terms of the indictable offences, so the jail time that you speak of, so what happened was in Elizabeth Garlick's first statement, and they had two briefs of evidence. Both briefs of evidence charged the company and myself with crimes. However, as an individual and this is something to just get in the timeline correct, Elizabeth Garlick comes in on the 18th. A lot of the fabrication and planting of evidence, like the slug and those things, they all happen on the 18th when she's not wearing her body camera. Then she comes back in. She's supposed to come back in, she said, at 8:30 or 9 o'clock on Tuesday the 19th. She doesn't turn up. She rings Ben, our general manager, and she makes another time with him and says, I'm going to be a bit late. Turns out she was later and didn't arrive till nearly 11 o'clock because they were having a team meeting about us up at the council offices. We now have those notes. We have her notes of the team meeting. In her notes, they are contacting previous auditors and they're going through everything they can to get, what she says, to get the knowingly component of Section 8. They're the indictable offences. So remember, she's been in once. She has never seen production. You know, we start at 4 in the morning. By midday, we're in washdown. That's how it used to operate. We start very early, we finish early. And she's never seen food production, but she is making notes in a team meeting about how she is going to charge me with indictable offences that carry a 2-year prison term. Now, when they first did the first brief of evidence, they had those indictable offences were what they were chasing down. But then what happened to them was Kim Rogerson, the whistleblower, she came out and said she wasn't going to be a party to it anymore and that ICook Foods was being framed. When she came out and told them that, they pulled the first brief back and they reissued a new brief and they took the indictable offences out because they could no longer support them without Kim Rogerson's statement as well. So they started a whole new one, which is why we didn't get that brief until June. However, even that brief and those charges amounted to nearly $11.5 million in fines. And they did not carry through with one. When we turned up in court and I said I was going to defend each and every charge, they pulled the lot. As soon as they realised that we were going to put Elizabeth Garlick and Leanne Johnson on the stand, as soon as they realised that we knew they'd edited the body camera footage, they were in hot water. They were in so much hot water, they had to pull the pin. Keeping in mind, Dandenong, according to my solicitors who did the research, they told me Dandenong had not lost a food case in 20 years.
And most of it, you would assume, would be out of these bullying and coercive tactics and fear-based things, but they came up against the wrong bloke, didn't they? Eh?
Absolutely. And it's not, yes, they came up against the wrong bloke. They came up against us because we didn't do anything wrong. We were running a normal business. Everything they had ever wanted, even things which they shouldn't be asking us to do, we did. Yep. So, when you know that you have always done the right thing, when you know you have always done whatever they asked you to do, then you get this completely unreasonable 2-3 days of inspections and bang, you're out of business. You know there's something wrong, something terribly smelly was going on. And then with with the finding of Community Chefs documents from their website, all their board papers, etc., it painted a much clearer picture of what was going on.
So just to close with now, Ian, where to from here? What's next? What's the next step? What's the next point that we can look forward to?
So we're still doing lots of research and we're going over all the information we have with a fine-tooth comb. That's number one. Number two, we have a directions hearing now at the end of this month, where, because we have now discovered more information that, if you like, shows more wrongdoing, then we're going to be amending our statement of claim to the Supreme Court. Hopefully that will all go through with the directions hearing on the 31st, but we'll wait and see. After that, that will give us an idea of when the case will actually be on again, and what will be happening with it, because at the moment people are resisting subpoenas and doing all sorts of things. They literally don't want to give us any more information if they can help it, because every time they do, it has a nasty habit of sinking one of their stories.
Well, Ian, hopefully they'll be too smart for their own good, and this will all come to fruition around election time, and it'll be exposed under the bright light for all to see then.
Yeah, look, I do hope so. I also, we have to do what we have to do in the civil case, particularly now because Victoria Police have decided that they don't, it's too hot for them to handle, so they've walked away. I think we need to keep in mind that what we're doing and what's happening actually is very important for all Victorians. Small business in Victoria can't be just shut down, manhandled the way they have, because remember, under the EPA legislation, under animal cruelty legislation, under WorkSafe, all of these people have the same powers as these authorised officers in that the council delegate, and they can go out and do these sorts of things to almost any business under several acts. And we have to show it up. We have to make sure that we don't let these people get power anymore. They have to be stopped.
All right, that's a great point to close on, Ian. We'll look forward to hearing from you. We'll have you back on after the 31st if there's any further developments, and good luck with the fight.
No worries. Thank you very much, and thank you for sharing the story.